Welcome, everyone. This is part 2 of a conversation about risks across the generative AI lifecycle. As I mentioned in part 1, the content for this talk came from a webinar I led for the Women in AI Governance last week, and I want to share that back with you. In this part, we are going to dig into the lifecycle itself. But again, I do want to kind of set the tone about my particular perspective in thinking about this life cycle. And I'm going to do that with a couple of visuals. Okay, so the particular life cycle that we're going to look at comes from Data Science PM. Now, it is not necessarily the authoritative life cycle that you can use. You could choose from any of a number of depictions, but it does a really good job of just outlining the major steps in creating a generative AI system. This is the website. I will make sure that there is a link to this in the notes. But specifically, this life cycle delineates the steps for creating AI-based applications. And you can see that it has a nice little visual here, followed by an explanation of each of the phases and how developing a generative AI product differs from maybe a traditional data science task. So you can reference this and get into detail about it. But what I wanted to share with you is my particular perspective, coming again from a governance point of view and also a user experience point of view on this life cycle. So one of the things I want to call out off the top is that on the one hand, you can look at all of these different steps as mechanical processes to create a technology. That's one lens you can use to look at this with. What I recommend and the way that I look at this is that I see throughout here people. I see people who are defining the problem. I see people who are investigating the data, making sure they understand what it contains, what it might be missing, cleaning the data, et cetera, et cetera. So you have all of these people throughout this entire life cycle working together to create a thing. This is not some process that just exists on its own. And you push a button and it's automated and things just happen. There are people making decisions at every step of the way. As someone who is a product person or someone who is in governance, believe that our job is to really understand the issues that each of these folks in the cycle are contending with, like what is difficult for them, what is confusing, what is not clear. How can we partner together and empathize with one another to create something that is humane not only for our users, but all of our stakeholders who are involved in this process. So it's definitely a lens that I am coming at this with. We will talk more about what that means at each phase, but I want you to, instead of looking at this cycle as a series of just automatic steps that you kind of blindly take, this is really about people doing work and the support that they need to do that work throughout so that we are creating things in a responsible way.